Hey everyone, so I have a short video here. This is going to be just an overview, not a full review, on something that I just got a few days ago that has solved a problem that I've been having for a while now. So we're going to be talking about the FeelWorld WSP, which is a wireless HDMI transmit and receive set. So to give the proper disclosures, I didn't know this existed until recently. FeelWorld actually contacted me to tell me about it. Now, I don't have any kind of relationship with FeelWorld. The only reason that they knew I existed and thought of me is because I had reached out to them to ask them some questions about another product that I was looking to buy. So they're not paying me money to make this video. They don't get to tell me what to say. They don't get to see it before anybody else. I bought this with my own money. I think there is, they do have a program where they can, if they like the video, get you refunded. But initially I paid for this with my own money, and if I didn't like it, I would have just refunded it. And I have no reason to make a video about something that I don't like, even if I got it for free. If I don't like it, it's no good to me. So the reason I'm making this video is because it actually solved the problem that I was having, and it solved it for a lot less than what I was going to spend. So originally I was going to get the Hollyland Mars, either 300 or 400. And the reason is, this is my problem. So if I move this out of the way here. So here's the gimbal that I use, right? This is the Crane 2. So the monitor goes here on the handle, and then the camera obviously goes here. So there's a gap between the camera and the monitor if you want to see on the monitor what the camera sees. So initially I just used a regular HDMI cable, which was pretty awful, because what happens is whenever it tugs, you end up getting axis lock and the gimbal turns off. So the first solution was I got this, which is from Pearstone, and it's articulated. So not only does it articulate this way, but they actually spin around also. And this works fairly well, and it's cheap. It's like under $10, and it works fairly well. The issue is sometimes if I go to what they call underslung, which is when you're holding it like this, it does still get the lock, and then you have to reshoot whatever it is you were doing, or you just lose it if it's a one-time deal. So I needed something else. Now, this is a FeelWorld LUT 5, which I, again, bought with my own money. And it has this dummy battery here already on it. And so you can put something like a Hollyland directly on there. And that's one of the reasons I got this monitor, is I'm going to have to buy something like the Hollyland Mars. And this will just let it slide right on without any kind of wonky adapters. Okay, but the Mars is, more expensive, and it's more bulky because you have to have one on here, and then you have to have one connected to the camera somehow. So you have two units, which are almost as big as the monitor itself, just to bridge a 1 foot gap. So when FeelWorld said, hey, check this out, I immediately went and bought it, because I was very hopeful that this was going to solve the problem that I was having for a lot less hassle and money than what I was originally going to pay. So I'm going to show you a setup here. Now, this is a GH5, and I am using this one for photos. So it's not set up for video. I'm not going to mount it on the gimbal. I just want to show you how this works, and how you mount it is up to you, because you are going to have a different setup than I am. Maybe a different gimbal, maybe you're going to use tripod. So, whatever. I'm not going to get into the nuts and bolts of how to set this up on a rig, because you've got your own way of setting things up. So one thing to understand is that there's a process of setting these up. There's a sequence. So first you do the receive, then you do the transmit. You have to power it, then plug it into the source, which comes to our first con, which is that depending on what you're using this for, this does have to be powered. Some devices will push power through HDMI. This camera and this monitor, neither of them do that. So they do need, each one of these needs its own power source. So what I'm going to do is I kind of lucked out because on the monitor side, I already had a few of these, which is, it's from Power Extra, and it's just an MPF, battery. But the cool little trick up its sleeve is that it has a tap out for USB. So the way this works is you just connect that, and then I'm going to turn this on. Okay, so watch the screen here. Okay, you'll see the screen is just blank. Okay, so then we take just it's a micro USB, which may or may not be a con. I know some people prefer USB-C. I don't really care. And then I'm going to plug this into the receive side, okay? All right. So now I'm going to plug this into HDMI in. Now watch what happens to the screen. It comes up with a page that explains how to set things up for different devices. So it's kind of a neat little how-to screen, just in case you are forgetting a step somewhere. Okay, so same thing. We're going to take power to the transmit side. So this one will have a blue LED light. This one has a red LED light. If they're flashing, it means your power, you did something wrong, or you're not getting proper power, or you plugged it into the source before powering it. Okay, so I'm going to turn my camera on here, and you can see what I can see. Now this has a full HDMI port. Obviously, you're either going to need a full HDMI port, or you're going to need some way to adapt it to whatever you have, right? But the GH5 has this. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to do this so you can see. So I'm going to connect it now. And there we go. There we go. It's connected. So that was a pretty quick setup. I mean, it really wasn't difficult at all, as long as you do it in the right sequence. Now, let's talk about lag. They say 12 milliseconds. Okay, that may or may not be too much for you. So let me show you what it looks like. If I do a quick jerk, there's definitely lag. Okay, a slow one is really not that bad. Actually, the cable, even this cable has a very slight lag. So I haven't seen anything that's completely lag-free anyways. So that may or may not be an issue. If you're doing something like focus pulling, honestly, this may be an issue for you if you're doing quicker scenes. But if you have this just mounted on a tripod and you're just doing maybe an interview and you're just trying to rack focus between a couple things, it might be just completely fine for you. I don't really do a lot of focus pulling for fast shoots, so for me this is going to be just fine. Keep in mind, this is a lot cheaper than the other options, so if you need something more high-end, you're going to just pay higher end prices, right? But this, I wanted something that could do the majority of what I need without getting too crazy with the money and the amount of things I have to connect, the bulk and all that. So let's talk about how to in general mount it. Here's just an idea, and this is GH5. I'm gonna get the GH6, so I'm not gonna bother with any kind of specific solution, mounting solution or rig until I get the other camera, because this is gonna become my B cam anyways. What I would do is I would take something like this. So this is just a little anchor. I'm using it to power the device right now. It's just a little anchor power pack. This one is, I think, overkill. You could get away with a lot less bulk. And what I would do is I would just mount it right here, and then I would just butt the camera up against it, and that should be just fine. Now, if you have some other way to like tap cable, tap USB power, I know some of these other gimbals actually have power taps on them. You could just tap it off the gimbal itself. But I would just buy a very small, thin one of these and just use that. That's probably the easiest option. So let's talk about something that I would like to see in the future, which is obviously a battery-powered version. So if they would put an internal battery, even if it only lasted, say, a couple hours, that would probably cover 90% of my shoots. I just don't do these big, long, day-long shoots. And if I did, then it wouldn't be an issue to just go ahead and mount power, because everything else would be powered anyways, right? I probably wouldn't even be running the monitor off of this. I would run it off the DC tap here, so that I didn't have to change batteries. So if I was doing an all-day shoot, none of this would be powered on battery anyways, so that wouldn't be an issue. Or if you're shooting on a tripod, it's really not an issue, because you just take this and you just put it in a little bag or something and hang it off the tripod, and something like this will probably run it, I would say, all day. This runs my phone all day when I'm using it all day, so I don't see this running out during your shooting day. But if they did put an internal battery, I think that would really make this a lot more attractive, because it would be a lot quicker. And it just would look better, right? You wouldn't have this kind of extra cables that nobody wants to have if you can help it. So that's something I would like to see in the future, is an internal battery powered version. But I am going to show you something that I don't use right now, but I am going to use in the future. And that's the ability to, instead of mounting this to the camera itself, using sort of a video village setup. So this has an HDMI in and an HDMI out. Okay. So what that means is you can either buy 2 sets, or if you're not using a gimbal and you're just using a pair of sticks, you could just use this, right? So you connect the camera to the monitor with this, and then instead of going from here to here, you go from the HDMI out on the transmit side, and then the receiver you would put on something like a large format monitor that, let's say, the director has, or your focus puller has. So instead of having this small one here, you could have something like even a 10, 11, whatever, 15, or you could actually hook this up to, heck, I mean, you could hook it up to a 50-inch TV if you wanted, and just have everybody out watching what's going on with the camera from a very large computer screen or TV monitor. I'm kind of a one-man band, so that's not kind of what I'm using it for right now, but I can definitely see this being useful if you want to give a client a monitor, because a lot of times people want to see what's happening. So if you can not sacrifice your monitor but also have a second monitor without having some sort of complex solution, this is great. You just take this, you stick it into a TV, and then they can see what you can see. And so that's just a quick overview. I've only had this for a few days, and I've just been playing with it, and so far it's good. I haven't had it cut out. It does say 164 feet is what they say the range is. I don't need that far. Depends on where your video village is. If you need further, let's just be honest, you're gonna have to pay more, which is fine. This isn't for everybody. So hopefully you found this useful. Maybe this is solving a problem that you have with less money and less hassle than other solutions available. So that's it, just a quick video. Hopefully you learned something, and maybe this will solve a problem for you the way that it solved a problem for me. So check it out, FeelWorld WSP. You can get it on Amazon right now between, let's say, $130 and $150. Prices vary, of course, depending on when you're watching this video. But I hope that this was useful to you, and maybe this will be the solution that you need. All right, have a good one.